Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and a very good afternoon, early evening from the UK from your host, Brother Nadeem. How's everyone? I've got Brother, mashallah, Sohail.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Oh, and Brother Imran is calling me on my phone while we're live. Look at this.
Get him on the phone. Let's do it live on air. Tell him he's live on air. Please, not spare.
Imran.
Apologies, brothers and sisters, for the technical difficulties.
Okay.
Brother Imran is giving us a call. Assalamu alaikum. While we're waiting, brothers and sisters, while you're getting on the show, please share, like, and share this stream so we can have some beneficial discussion, inshallah. So get it. Let's get the stream moving a little bit. Get people reviewing. Tag people in the actual stream as well in the Facebook. We're also on YouTube, Facebook. We're on Twitter as well. If any of you guys like to tweet.
By the way, how you said Facebook. Good accent, mashallah. Imran says, make a start. I'm stuck somewhere. I'll be joining. I don't know if he said might. So his loss anyway.
That's a Pakistani might, bro.
Yeah, mashallah. No problem. So brothers and sisters who are on, just as Sohail said, let's share this out there, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, I think from the feedback I've been getting, Sohail, is that this has been a very productive show so far, mashallah, because we've covered a lot of questions that don't get asked in other shows. One of the things that I believe I have experience in, and Allah's given this ability from other brothers, a privilege, is I focus on the practical part of the dawah. Because mashallah, we have many du'at who have the ilm, they have the academic knowledge, the sources, philosophy, Quran and science, Quran and Sunnah, everything. But when it comes to practical, I know all the rational arguments that exist of God, but how do I speak to this person, or how do my family member, or at work, office, that kind of thing. So we covered a good topic yesterday, alhamdulillah, a lot of questions, a lot of interactions, as you saw, mashallah. And I think it's one of those subjects which 1 hour is not enough.
Yeah, very true, very true.
Yeah, so we can maybe revisit that, inshallah, another time.
Inshallah.
Today, brothers and sisters, I'll give a quick intro to a very special guest. His name is Raja Zia al-Haq. He is, mashallah, the CEO of Youth Club, which is based in Pakistan. And they are in my opinion, one of the leading dawah organizations in Pakistan, alhamdulillah.
I don't know much about them. I've heard them. I've heard about them, but not like massively. And most of it's come from yourself. I've heard good things, and I've seen good things in the past, or like on social media and stuff. Yeah. But obviously, being in Pakistan, I haven't been. It's not in the UK, so you don't really know exactly what's going on the ground itself. So it'd be really interesting to find a lot more.
Yeah, no, alhamdulillah. There's many features to it, and I think one of the biggest features, and which is the topic we're gonna maybe discuss today, is presenting Islam to the youth, or to the mass people, especially the educated youth, the university-going people, the educated, the so-called liberals, the people who have secular values, feminists, that kind of thing. The way youth represented it has been received very well, mashallah. And people have been inspired, they've changed, they come to our events, and there's certain features that we use. So I'll touch upon it, and I think Zia can, mashallah, when it comes to his background, I mean, he'll tell you as well, but his background, subhanallah, he was on the verge of becoming an atheist many years ago.
Subhanallah.
Then as everyone has a story, he didn't, alhamdulillah. And before he was practicing, he was actually a very famous producer, a theater producer, so director, producer, actor. So he's got all that, mashallah. This is back in the 90s, alhamdulillah, so late 90s. So what he's done, alhamdulillah, rather than becoming practicing and then ditching all the stuff that you're in Jahiliyyah, he took those skills into the dawah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So, that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do.
A lot of brothers say, I've forgotten it, forget my friend, forget my old contacts. No, he kept hold of it. The skills.
Good.
Brilliant. So, mashallah, when it comes to videos, when it comes to producing, when it comes to presenting, I think he's one of the best, mashallah.
Mashallah, good.
So he gave a talk, TEDx talk at Lahore, TEDx Lahore, I think 2-3 years ago. And brilliant job, mashallah. He's very well spoken. I think he studied at Portsmouth University, and he did his basic here, then he did his masters in Australia. So alhamdulillah, he's got a good background, mashallah. So What have we got here? We got people coming in saying, tagging people,
Alhamdulillah.
mashallah.
We've got a lot of salams, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum to all of our listeners,
Wa alaikum
viewers.
assalam
I'll say
wa
listeners
rahmatullah.
because I'm always thinking it's back on the radio days that we used to have the radio. But wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone. Please like and share this stream, brothers and sisters. We've got a nice show for you today, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, brother Richard Coupland. Richard Coupland, share the stream, please, Mr. Coupland.
You know what? Let me
All
share
right.
this stream as well.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, good. Alhamdulillah. While we're alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan, brothers and sisters. Yeah, thank you very much for all your salams. It's actually beautiful. I love to see salams being spread. You know, this is from the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salam. You'll not truly love each other until you spread the salam, or you'll not truly believe until you love one another. Shall I tell you something that if you were to do it, you would love one another? Spread the salam. So, jazakumullahu khairan, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just touching on what you were saying while you're doing that, Nadeem, you're sharing the stream as well.
Yeah.
Something you touched upon just earlier about, you know, learning and knowing all of these different arguments and knowing how to do it, all these you know, deep philosophical arguments, all that kind of stuff. If I'm honest with you, I kind of agree with you. But I'm all about keeping the dawah simple, and I think the dawah is meant to be simple. You know, I was fortunate enough to have a one-to-one with Sheikh Abdurrahim Green, a while back, and so we were going over the GoRap methodology that obviously he's put together and developed, alhamdulillah. And he said to me, look, and I don't mean to say this to try and big him up or anything like that, but we all know, alhamdulillah, he's been an inspiration. He's been an inspiration to me and many people. Yeah. And he actually was like, look, I can argue with the best of them. I can, you know, I've been on par with, you know, some of these Christian scholars and all the rest of it, right? But he goes, but keep your dawah simple. The best way is the dawah needs to be simple. The dawah needs to reach the masses. It's not about trying to reach those specific individuals. Yes, I think that has its place. Yeah. And that's for specific people to be able to deal with and to do. But generally speaking, our dawah is so simple. It's the simple message of Tawheed, right? Yeah. It's the simple message of call people to worship Allah alone. And that's it, right? The main message, and that's what all the prophets and messengers they call to. So, you know, that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the message, is keep the dawah. I personally I'm a huge advocate of keeping the dawah simple. I may know these arguments and going into these deep discussions, fine, but personally, I'm all about keeping it simple.
In fundraising, we had this concept. It's called KISS, KISS. So it's keep it simple, stupid. So we said stupid in there. You know, it's so I think Richard Feynman. He was I think you're aware because
Richard Feynman. He's a very famous educator. He's he's an educator. He's a physicist as well.
Yeah, this is his field. I think it was him. He said that if you can explain a very deep concept to a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Well, it's actually the Feynman technique. Yeah, his technique was basically to learn something. What you do is you read of stuff about it, and then you brain dump everything on paper, right? You brain dump everything you know, and then if you can try and explain that to a 5-year-old and simplify it in your language to explain it to a 5-year-old, then you've understood it. If you haven't, then you go back and tweak it and change it. And so, and I agree with that method. I honestly agree with that method.
I love it.
Our teaching, when we give dawah, it should be using the same methodology as well, in that sense as well.
Alhamdulillah. There's a sister Ariba saying, I wish the dawah hour continues after Ramadan as well. So,
interesting you said that, because as you may see, I'm going to move this. Okay. As you see here, tune into our fundraiser today. I'm a shameless plug here, because actually we are fundraising for Newcastle Fast FM today. We're fundraising for this Newcastle Fast FM is, just to give you a little bit of history, Newcastle Fast FM is what we used to do is during Ramadan every year, we used to apply for a license for the radio. So alhamdulillah, we used to get the license every year to do Newcastle Fast FM every year in our locality, and basically do different shows on Islam throughout Ramadan, spiritual reminders, this kind of show, Dawah Hour, people for Tarawih, late show after Tarawih and stuff like that. dealing with hot topics and all that kind of stuff. So we've been doing it for over 10 years now.
MashaAllah.
10 years it's been happening. Obviously, this year with COVID, it kind of put a spanner in the works because we all had the studio set up and everything.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
But it didn't stop us from doing it. It didn't stop us from doing it because we just went online. We moved to the online platform, and I believe this has actually helped a lot because it's moved it to a global audience in that way, right? So we're fundraising for the Islamic Diversity Center, which is Newcastle Fast 7, which is part of the IDC. Okay, today, in order for us to try and continue this stuff even after.
Well, there's a good incentive for people who are watching.
So please, by all means, brothers and sisters, please either tune in or you can, if you want to donate towards this cause, just go to the. I'll put a link on for you on the screen.
Let's just use this show for plug-in. For the other.
There you go. Oh, that was the wrong one. Where's it gone? Oh, we'll use this one anyway. Yeah, so you can use that one. You can go to supportidc.com or you can go to paypal.me. It's at the bottom here, paypal.me/Islamic Diversity. Sorry, that's my shameless plug done.
It's good, bro. It's good. No, it'd be good if you have other shows. And obviously, the powers that be at Newcastle, they're going to discuss which shows to continue, which not. So, inshallah, maybe this show we can continue with different guests.
Bro, it would be really good if we could do something like this. I think it'd be really good.
Inshallah.
I think, especially with the audience interaction that we have, alhamdulillah, I think it'd be really good to answer some of these questions. Maybe we could even get some well-known da'is on here, inshallah.
Or not well-known, because there are many hidden ghuraba, very hidden brothers who are hard at work.
That's a massive point, bro. That is really true.
Inshallah, who are out there behind, not on social media.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Let me see how you tackle it, and then I can come in as well. It's Ariba again. How would you respond to someone who says dawah is not deep enough and not a big deal either?
What do you mean by deep enough?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that.
If you're talking about, like it's not a big deal to do it, you don't need to do dawah. Why do you have to get involved in doing dawah? I would simply say there's a shift that needs to take place in the mind as to, first of all, let's remind ourselves of our purpose in life. Yeah. Why are we here? We're here to worship Allah. There are people out there who are not worshiping Allah because they don't know about Allah, right? And I always remind myself, and it always touches me when I look at this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ talks about the likeness of me and you is like a man who builds a fire, and moths and insects are going into the fire, and the man is frantically trying to wave these insects away, right? Yeah. And he says, "I'm like that man. You people are running to the hellfire. I'm grabbing you by your waistbands and telling you, where are you going?" Right? I mean, if you just look at the Prophet ﷺ, right? He just had so much love and care for people. He really loved people. He had so much care. He didn't want people to go to hellfire. It grieved him that he would think that someone's going to hellfire. It grieved him. It would make him. He want to kill himself with grief. The amount of grief it felt.
And then when we ask, who do you love? Your T-shirt. That's why we love him.
Yeah. SubhanAllah. So I mean, from that perspective, if you're saying it's not a big deal in that context, what you mean, I would say, look at your shift, take a shift in place. Like, do we actually care for people or not? I think that's the idea.
I think the way I would also look at this question, maybe, is that there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there who, mashallah, studying all sorts. They're studying academics at university level. They're studying deen, mashallah, in different places. And I've noticed that they think that, dawah is for those brothers who are, sisters who are, free on a weekend, who are, not working, not got a job. It's simple. Let them do the dawah. We're going to do the big stuff. We're gonna do the academics. We're gonna do the produce books. Maybe that's that, and there is that element. We do need the academics, 100%. We do need the in-depth knowledge. We need the people who study philosophy and refutations and defend Islam. Absolutely. But I think there is definitely a balance needed. I think this is one of those biggest discussions, bro, which I have with people. Those brothers, and I would put myself in, who are busy, active, we need to seek more knowledge. And those brothers who have a lot of knowledge, they need to come out and be more active.
So bro, the two marry together. The
Yes.
two can be married together. We can help each other to do that. People
Yes.
with the knowledge and people with, the activism side of things. I do believe we have a guest on,
Oh,
which I'll add him to the stream now.
mashallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother Nadeem.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah. Bro, we can hear you clearly, but your picture's a bit, I don't know, slightly freezing.
It's all right, inshallah. It'll get better. It'll get better, inshallah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. How's your Ramadan, Sheikh?
Great, mashallah, alhamdulillah. Is the video better now, or is it still having problems?
It's better, inshallah. I think it'll get better as the stream goes on, to be honest with you.
Okay, so bros, yeah, this is Sohail, mashallah, from Newcastle FM, IDC North, mashallah, all that. I hope Sohail doesn't mind this, but a lot of brothers I know, sisters who are on, they benefit from Dawah training, right? Mashallah. This is the guy behind the stuff. People don't know that, mashallah. So a lot of the, although
I'm not. All I've done is repackage stuff. I'm very good.
Education head of
Sheikh Zia, I'm very good at PowerPoint. That's what it is. Yeah, I can take something and make it more better in a PowerPoint. No, alhamdulillah, I am the education manager there at Ayr, alhamdulillah. So I've taken a lot of the stuff that people have already put. There's so many predecessors involved in what I do, and I'm not doing anything special, alhamdulillah. I'm just making sure the stuff's out there so people can use it, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Rozia, we did have Imran Hussain and Brother Johnny, but they've dumped us last minute, bro. Maybe they heard your name. They said, oh, Zia, boy, come and forget it. We're not coming on. But usually they're here. So, mashallah, Sohail, our producer, has stepped in, alhamdulillah. So, bro, there's not much of a topic, but there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you, and then over to the audience and the people who are watching. The first thing is, we're not going to ask your life story. We're not going to, because you've done.
I want to know his life story, bro. Give me a breakdown, a little bit. Give me a little bit.
For that billionth time. Okay, summarize in 1 minute.
Okay. Okay, so long story short, I've got 60 seconds to do this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
61.
It's basically I was educated in the UK and Australia, and during this time I was completely away from the deen, living that materialistic lifestyle as people who in their teens and early 20s usually do in our part of the world. And so my motto or my slogan in life was you only live once. So basically I tried to do whatever I possibly could to make the most of this life from a materialistic perspective. So
and there's photographic evidence for all that as well.
Yeah, I have photographic evidence. So like skydiving, bungee jumping, and all of that stuff. Basically, I was into a lot of things, and so after experimenting with life, I was trying to find purpose, meaning, all of the things. But alhamdulillah, finally I found it. I'm not trying to be very cliche here, but really I found it in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I realized that the peace and the tranquility and the happiness that I was looking for was not in any of those material things that people generally go for, but rather it was, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub." It was in the remembrance of Allah that I finally found my peace and my tranquility, alhamdulillah. So I think that's the shortest I've ever done my life story ever.
Well, God bless you, Sheikh. I think everyone's been in the same kind of boat, or I think a lot of times when you come to Islam, it's you've gone through that. You have to go to the lows to get to the highs, and I think many people can relate to that story. May Allah bless you.
Well, there's speaking of lows, bro. There's probably a lot of people, because mashallah, I see the people are sharing, who are in that low situation, that low period of their life, and I think this is why we bring on brothers like Imran and Zia, that maybe they can give some food for thought, especially this month of Ramadan, especially with lockdown. So, bro, Zia, various questions, but I think the first question to kick off, inshallah, is, alhamdulillah, I've seen you as a very good person of presenting Islam. You have, mashallah, very unique presentation skills. I did mention to Sohail, you had the theatre days, Mount of Monte Cristo, Count of Monte Cristo, and Phantom and all that other crazy stuff. Yeah. And there's probably others you haven't told us, but anyway. So one thing you haven't done, mashallah, and is that, and this is the question, right? A lot of brothers, they have certain skills when they're not practicing, when they were living a life of jahiliyyah. When they change, they want to get away from that life completely so much that they don't remember even the skills they learned. They don't want to remember. But mashallah, you kept those skills. So yeah, do you want to just touch upon that? Like, what did you? Was it a conscious effort that I'm going to remember these? I'm going to use it in the dawah later, or was it just so happens? Just your comments on that, bro.
Bro, I remember the quote from Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, who said that the best of us in Jahiliyyah are the best when they come to Islam. So Islam does not ask you to leave any goodness that you had previously and just throw it outside the window. But you're supposed to take whatever talents you have. Like you look at Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, who was a master of the battlefield. I mean, once he came towards Islam, he didn't just put the sword down and say, look, now my life has changed. No, subhanAllah, he used the exact same skill set, but now he used it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when I was coming to the deen, one of the things that I did, and I recommend anyone who is struggling with this lifestyle and trying to come towards the deen, is that, take a small piece of paper and write down what we call a SWOT analysis. Basically write down what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, what are the opportunities that are available to you and the threats along the way. And so whatever your strengths are, think of ways in which you can use your strengths to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because surely we know that the Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were all very unique people. They were very different people. So you had people like, for example, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, who was a muhaddis, who was somebody who memorized so many ahadith, and he was a student of knowledge in the true sense. And then you had people like Usman ibn Affan, who was extremely rich. You had Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, who was extremely rich. And so they used their wealth in order to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever your skill set might be, use it to make the most out of getting good deeds, so that you can show them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can actually present you, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرٍ يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرٍّ يَرَى. So whatever goodness you can do, what you're naturally good at. I mean, I wouldn't tell anyone who's not a very good speaker to become a speaker by force. I would never say that. Some people I would say, bro, you're an academic person, write books. You, for example, are a good nasheed artist, sing nasheeds, because the youth is struggling for halal content anyway. So you see, everybody has a different side to them, which they probably used when they were in their days of Jahiliyyah. And I know, mashallah, several musicians who, when they turn towards the deen, alhamdulillah, they use their skills to preach the same message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their own unique way, inshallah. So everybody has to find their own strengths and use them for their own advantage, inshallah.
Brilliant advice.
Alhamdulillah, excellent. Bro, yesterday we had the topic was initiation.
I think he's froze, to be honest, but
it's frozen. Okay,
Charlie,
frozen in time. Can you hear us, bro?
Sheikh, if you come back to the stream, inshallah, if you just rejoin, inshallah. But beautiful advice there. Just to touch on what he said, actually, I am a huge fan of saying that everyone has a place to play in the dawah.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with Sheikh Zia on working to your strengths. If this is your strength, you should work to your strength. Not everyone's meant to be on a platform like Sheikh Zia said. Not everyone's meant to be on a platform and explain Islam and give lectures and stuff. In our organization, we used to have a sister, and all she did really was just make our name badges. The name badges for when we have events. She used to make those.
That was her role.
But you know what? SubhanAllah, like the thing is, you've got to realize as well is that if we're sincere in it, we not think that Allah's going to reward us for it? Of course He will. Nothing is lost in Allah's sight. Allah, and as sisters put there, Akash has put there, every small deed will be rewarded. You don't know how, and even a small deed, you don't know how big it is in the sight of Allah. It could be massive. It could be huge in the sight of Allah. Why? Because that deed may lead someone else to do a bigger deed, and that will be a bigger deed, which then in turn, maybe someone accepts Islam from that. You don't know. You don't know what's going to come from that small. It's like that. It's like when you put a snowball down a mountain, down a hill, right? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You just don't know what will happen. SubhanAllah.
Alhamdulillah. Excellent. So we're just taking more comments before Zia comes back, inshallah. Hopefully he will come back.
Inshallah.
He's back.
I'm back.
Welcome back, bro. You just have a quick samosa or something, or some pakode on the side, yeah?
Having trouble. I don't know what's happening with the internet today, man.
Just for clarification, it is iftar time in Pakistan. It is iftar time in Pakistan. The UK people, it's not that he's breaking fast early or anything. So that's
you see me like sort of samosa, don't.
It just internet just cut off convenient time.
I just want to put that disclaimer out there. I want people thinking that, you know.
So, bro, before you get off, you know, yesterday we've been covering various topics. This is a Dawah Hour, so all topics related to Dawah. Yesterday we discussed the very important discussion of initiation, which is basically how to start the conversation, or, you know, how to approach people. So I know one of the things, mashallah, I remember with you and Taha and other brothers, that one of the things which really I use in my training and mashallah, you know, really I'm very inspired by, is that you give dawah everywhere you go. Like, you know, the restaurant, the taxi, literally you don't leave any human being around you. You're always going to call to dawah. So maybe if you can give us the psychology behind that, like, do you ever get worried, maybe at this point I shouldn't say anything, and just some examples of how that's begun. And are you still doing that, bro, wherever you travel?
Yeah. So I'm guessing the question from your side is, why do you do that? And my answer is, why not?
Oh, no, yeah.
So yeah, bro, I mean,
historic answer this is.
The thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he's given you an ability to communicate the message of the deen, right? Yeah. So I say, why are you holding back? I mean, the way I look at it, I think that, you know, perhaps if I'm meeting someone, whether it's at a restaurant or, you know, if it's, I'm just traveling somewhere and somebody asks for a lift or something, and the guy sits in the car, or if you see somebody, you know, where you meet them for maybe even 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Yeah. Why not say something nice, something to do with the deen? I mean, even if it's like meeting somebody on an elevator. Yeah. Surely
which you have.
Say something positive and nice, and you know, you can start by initiate. Yeah. So you can start by you can, you know, break the ice a little bit, and then you can just start by saying anything nice. So, for example, one thing that we say is that, you know, what do you think, according to you, is the purpose of life? And so sometimes people, and so we make it almost like a quiz type thing that we're asking people around. So they'll be like, yeah, you know, the purpose of life is to help humanity and mankind. And then we kind of take them to, but wouldn't it be better if we were to connect people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and so on? So the thing is that the kind of audience we're dealing with in Pakistan is primarily, by and large, a Muslim audience. So giving good nasiha could be just asking someone to pray salah. Or, for example, to read the Quran with translation every day. So if I ask someone that, brother, do you like recite Quran? He'll be like, yes, alhamdulillah, I recite in the Arabic. And then I ask them, do you understand Arabic? And the person might say, no, I don't. So I might be encouraged to say to them that, look, why don't you read, even if it's 2 ayat, with translation? And then I will say something motivational, like this famous quote from Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, who said that if you read 1 ayah of the Quran with understanding, it is more reward worthy than reading the whole Quran, which is done without any understanding whatsoever. So subhanallah, you know, in the month of Ramadan, people are like really, you know, racing towards, you know, I completed the Quran once or twice or 3 times or 4 times, which is good. We should do that, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said that for each harf you get 10 good deeds, yani 10 hasanat. But Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah is saying that if you recite 1 ayah of the Quran with understanding, with, you know, doing tadabbur upon it, and with this intention that I want to implement this, then this is far more reward worthy than the entire Quran that's recited without any understanding whatsoever. So I've seen this working. You know, people, they're like, light up, they're like, what? Oh, really? And I'm like, yes, because, so you see, even if you create a small impact in any person's life, you never know, you know, if that person might tomorrow become an alim, you know? And so, subhanAllah, you might be the person who caused him to at least think and reflect. So I think if you keep that in mind, it keeps you motivated, and it keeps you, you know, have a high energy about you, that you're not communicating, you know, people to sort of connect to you or to any particular organization, but rather you're connecting them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the most important thing, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. So I've got questions, but do you want to take some from any comments or questions from the
well, yeah, there's audience? A few that have come in. So we were discussing this before. We were discussing this before about the Feynman method, about when you teach somebody, or when you want to explain something, keep it very simple. There's also this, Ariba said, there's a grandma test too, which I've learned in RBT behavioral training. I don't know what RBT behavioral training is, but it sounds good to me. It means that if you can explain a concept to your grandmother, and then you've mastered it, which is also very true and very
Although, if I try and explain something to my grandma, she goes, "Acha, you're going to explain to me. You're going to teach me, son."
Who do you think you are? Yeah. Love for people is really a good kind of motivation to get into dawah. It's an obligation as well. Absolutely true there, Brother Sama. Very true, alhamdulillah. Also, yes, Sama also says, basically, historically speaking, dawah has been carried enormously by da'is, backed by scholars. In fact, I would say also, if you put them together, the da'is were scholars when it came to giving the dawah as well. They had the knowledge and they went out and taught the knowledge as well. That doesn't necessarily say to us, or that means to us that we shouldn't have the knowledge, or that we should not have the knowledge, that we should sit back and say, I'm not going to give dawah until I'm an alim. No, convey from what you know. Convey, even if it's one ayah. There's a question that's come here for Zia Bhai. That how do you manage time between your dawah life, work life, and personal life?
Let me answer that. He has no life.
Right.
It's just dawah. That's it.
You know what? Seriously, you know what I've noticed as well? The dawah leaders across the world, that's exactly the boat they're in, right? Most people have this, the dawah leaders who are taking a lead in the dawah. I mean, I look at my brother, for example. He's like full, you've seen how my brother travels all across the UK.
Newcastle to London, every
subhanallah. But let's go back to Sheikh Zia.
So, bro, if you can see behind me right now, there is a library / gym, right? So
Inshallah.
What happens is that while I'm working out, I am either listening to the Quran or a tafsir of the Quran or any Islamic knowledge that I can put my hands on, right? So if I can listen to some lectures or attend like duroos of fiqh or anything like that, I make sure that my time is I do a lot of multitasking. At the same time, because before this COVID-19 outbreak happened, I was traveling excessively across Pakistan, and now even internationally, I was beginning to have these tours that were actually coming up. So what happens is that with the family, I have a very nice arrangement, and the arrangement is as such that whenever I'm home, I'm really home. It's not like I come home and I'm like watching the telly and I'm like, everybody just get out, give me my space. Or
on the smartphone
home, then so like I'm not on the phone or anything. I just switch my phone off, which is something that Brother Nadeem can testify to, because he'll send me like 10 messages and then you get one
and I don't get any replies. a year later.
I don't know how you do it, Sheikh, because like if I've left my phone for like, and sometimes you want to have a nap during the day, right? Sometimes. And if you have that nap during the day, you look at your phone and there's like 50 messages, WhatsApp messages, 3 phone calls, and you're like, wow, I've got to deal with all of this stuff now as well. It's crazy, but
you have to you see,
switch
if,
off.
if you want to look out for yourself, you have to realize that there's a bigger game at play here. You can't afford to leave your own studies, or you cannot afford to do the bigger things that you're actually aiming towards, because what the mobile phone becomes at point is that it sometimes becomes more of a distraction. All of these random discussions going on, and I even find a lot of times people will ask, like, my inbox, if you look at if you go to my Facebook page and check my response rate, it is 0% on Facebook. It's 0%. I simply don't have time to reply. But so what I'm trying to do is that people who are coming into contact with me through our halakas and lectures, I give them full time. If I'm with somebody, and if somebody is asking me a particular question, that I'm with them in that moment, I'm answering them, addressing their concern. And what I normally do is that I tell people who are messaging online that please, I've already answered. I can safely say that if you're asking me a question online, I can safely say there's an 80% chance that I've already answered it in one of my videos. So I tell them to please do some homework and just type in my name and write the masla that you're searching for, and you'll probably find a video or something to do with that subject already out there. And also on our own pages, inshallah, there's a lot of content out there, and there's a lot of other teachers and scholars who have also commented. So really, if it's something that a person is battling with, for example, if I get a message from a non-Muslim, or if I get a question from a struggling Muslim who's bordering on atheism, then these are the people I respond to very, very quickly, because I don't want them to lose out on their iman. But if somebody says, I have, what is the exact method of going into ruku or something like this, I'll be like, bro, you can talk to people about these issues. But if you're battling with your own iman and things like that, then inshallah I can try to help you out.
It's priorities. It's all priorities, right? It's exactly that. That's the iman comes first. You got to guard and save your iman and the iman of other people.
I bet Ziaba gets questions like, Ziaba, should I wear my green shirt tomorrow or blue one? I bet he gets questions like that.
Always wear the blue one, man.
Wallahi, this is a real question. This is a real This is a real question. That Ziaba, can you please explain how to unlock an Android phone if you've lost the password? And
I remember that.
That's when I was like, okay, I gotta shut the phone down because people
are
questions on Earth now.
And then if you don't reply, why are you not replying? Brother, why are you not replying?
Yeah, bro, like recently, this brother, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, I picked up his phone call. It was an unknown number, and I was in the mood, one of those days when I went in the mood,
one of those moods.
So I was in the mood, I pick it up. So I picked up the phone and I said, yes. And the guy, he started complaining. He said, in the Urdu language, he said, "मैं आपसे बहुत नाराज हूँ," meaning I'm really upset with you. And I said, I was very polite. I was like, gee, how can I help you, bro? I mean, what happened? I'm really sorry if I've upset you or anything like that. He said, no, because I messaged you yesterday about a problem that he was having with his, I don't know what the issue was. It was a very minor issue. It was a very minor issue. And he said, I messaged you like 20 times since yesterday and you haven't replied back.
Oh my God.
SubhanAllah. You only messaged yesterday. I'm dealing with people who messaged me years ago and I haven't still replied back. So, bro, I mean,
join the queue.
You have this, exactly. Sometimes.
Okay, bro, I've got a quick question for you because we're asking you questions.
Before we go to questions, can I ask everyone please to like and share? Sheikh Zia, if you could also like and share as well, we can get them up this audience as well, inshallah, mashallah.
Yeah, I think if Ziaba shares, you're going to double your audience, inshallah.
So please.
Just hang on 1 second. I have to disappear for a sec for that.
Sure. Okay. Another pakora break.
While we're doing for another pakora break, while we're waiting for everyone else to share, please, brothers and sisters, also, can you all like and share as well? So we can up the stream, alhamdulillah. It's a really beneficial show, alhamdulillah. Just while we're waiting, I'll go through some of the other questions that have come up as well. In the learning process of Deen, can you kindly recommend where can we proceed to after Tafsir of Quran? Would be great to know, Jazakallah khair. Just to answer that, actually, we had another show earlier. If you want to go through our feed on Newcastle Fast FM, you'll find a show that we did with Abdul Wahid Stevenson, who Abdul Wahid Stevenson is
Medina College.
He's takes care of in charge of Medina College in the UK in London. And the show that we did was he talks a little bit about knowledge and seeking knowledge and how to seek knowledge, what ways to seek knowledge. So I hope, inshallah, if you can have a look at that, that will hopefully, inshallah, answer your questions on that as well. Okay, good. We've got a lot of salams coming in. Okay.
So, Bro Zia, let me ask the question while you're doing the sharing. You've got this obsession, a love of a particular bike. I think it's a Kawasaki something.
No.
What is it?
Don't ruin it, bro. Please don't ruin it.
What is this obsession and why?
You know the answer to why, bro. You always know the answer to why.
But the audience doesn't, bro. They're waiting.
Okay, 1 second. Let me first share this. I'm just
sure.
Let him share. While we're waiting for him to share as well, I'll go through some of these other questions. So, Nadeem, you can maybe answer this one, inshallah.
Sometimes when we ask people these random questions like purpose of life, they become awkward. How to deal with it?
Nadeem likes to deal with awkward people, man.
Yeah, I love awkward questions as well. Alhamdulillah. Look, I think this we discussed this yesterday, and that awkwardness is what I covered in dealing with rejection. And if you'd really break down awkwardness to its really minute level, like I discussed, the way I discussed it is you're fearing an eyebrow raise, or a facial expression. You're maybe they're mocking you. You're fearing all this, but really it's nothing to be feared because it's just a human being in front of you. Yeah, they're mere emotions, they're mere thoughts, they're mere matter. That's all it is. So if it's a mere matter, it doesn't really matter, as we say, right? So really, you should fear Allah. You should fear Allah and combine with wanting the reward of dawah. Remember we discussed the whole point is conveying, the results in the hands of Allah, and you try and do it with ihsan effectiveness as possible. But results in the hands of Allah, you do your best. So what you have to go with your psychology, you can either analyze the awkwardness to death. Oh, he might say this, she might think that, either you could do that, Or you could say, you know what, forget that. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to go in. I'm going to give the dawah. I'm going to fear Allah, and I'm going to seek the reward, inshallah. So that's just one, and there's many other ways of looking at it. But yeah, but my question about Kawasaki.
Yeah, bro. First of all, it's a Harley Davidson.
Oh,
and so there's a world of difference between a Kawasaki and Harley Davidson. I think it's one of those things, when I can actually easily connect it to Dawah, by the way. Because you see, every time when you're cruising on a motorcycle, right, it's the wind in your face and you're just going through very scenic routes and so on. It connects you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the best things about riding motorcycles is that you cannot attend your phone while you're riding a motorcycle. So your mobile phone's in your pocket. So normally what I do is if I'm going on a ride, I would love to, before this COVID-19 thing actually began, I would take my bike and I would go from here to all the way up to like some place like Nathia Gali or something, right? And so this would be a good 2-hour ride. And on the way, subhanAllah, you can make zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can look at the scenic views there. And it's really beautiful out there. It's really beautiful. Yeah. And by the time you reach there and then coming back, you feel a spiritual high, I would say. You feel a spiritual high. So I think, there's a huge dawah angle there, bro, that you're missing out on.
You're not wrong there, Sheikh Zia, because we have, for example, Jamal Richards, you won't mind me saying, but Dean Riders.
Dean Riders.
Dean Riders are those who've got the motorbikes as well. And actually even, I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning it, but my beloved teacher, Abdul Qadir from Luton Crisis Aid.
Oh, I don't know that.
He used to actually have a bike as well. And he used to love riding it because I think what you're saying is it brings you closer to Allah in a certain way. I don't know how he says it, but it's but
yeah, I mean, if you're riding in the city, it's not going to do much for your spiritual growth and development. It's going to cause you a lot of frustration and annoyance. But yeah, if you're going out into the countryside or if you're going up the mountain somewhere, really, it's there's no better way to experience traveling than on the back of a motorcycle.
Alhamdulillah, excellent, bro. One of the things which I've, mashallah, I think if some brothers and sisters are watching, I've worked with Bro Zia. I see him as my mentor, as my teacher since 2011, mashallah. 8-9 years, amazing years, mashallah, acquaintance. So we've traveled together all over Pakistan, alhamdulillah, done a lot of dawah together, and inshallah, hopefully we'll do some dawah again soon, bi'idhnillah. One thing I've always wanted to learn, and for me and others benefits as well, is mashallah, when it comes to presentations. So for example, when you do a lot of workshops, alhamdulillah, all over Pakistan and in Hong Kong as well, alhamdulillah, and other places. See, for me and many others, sitting down, being disciplined and presenting a very high quality presentation with multimedia, notes and everything, I find it very difficult. Do you have a particular routine? Because mashallah, your presentations have been very well received all over Pakistan. So what's your routine if you have some, and any tips, inshallah? How to prepare?
Okay, bro, I'm going to just turn the camera around and show you what that routine is. So right now I'm sitting in my office / gym / whatever you want to call it. Okay, so
man cave. We call it a man cave over here.
Yeah, so this here is my trusty little whiteboard. Okay, so this is where it all begins.
The master plan.
You see, whenever I'm working on a presentation, it always starts here. So I love to, basically what I do is I love to jot down rough ideas, or for example, if I'm working on a particular project, I write down everything that is to do with that particular subject. And then what I do is I try to box things around and to put them in a logical sequence. So, as there was a comment that, you should be able to teach someone something so simply as if you can even teach it to your grandma. So in the same manner, when I'm trying to work on a particular topic, I decide that, I have to present it in the most easiest of fashion. So even if there's a youngster there who's like 10 years old, he can understand it. And if there's an uncle there who's like, 70, he can understand it too. Because if I'm able to communicate the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a simple way, I don't teach this to people, and I don't encourage people to do this, to, be overly particular about the choice of words you use. Because, sometimes people get really formal and they start to make sure that every sentence is like very proper, and it's
become too academic, and it goes over their head.
But if the dawah is not being received on the other side, what good is that dawah anyway? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran to do dawah with hikmah, wal mawzatil hasanah, he says, right? And so the thing is, when you do dawah with hikmah, it means, you have to say the right thing at the right time to the right person in the right way. So all of these things are part of the hikmah of your dawah. Sometimes it could be you're talking to the wrong person. The dawah is great, but you're talking to the wrong guy, because this person is not ready to hear what you have to say. For example, if you're talking about like, let's suppose the ahkam related to inheritance to a new Muslim, this guy is not going to be able to understand this right now. Similarly, it could be that the person is right, but the timing is off. Right? So it could be that a guy is, half drunk out of his head and stepping outside of a bar, and you start with him in alhamdulillahi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina. The thing is, what you're saying is great, but the timing is wrong. You have to wait for this guy to sober down. And similarly, you have to also make sure that the place is right in all of this. So whenever you're making a presentation, always think of it from an end user perspective, that the people I'm going to deliver this message to, what possibly could they ask as a question? What possibly have I left out? Does it make sense what I'm saying? So what I normally try is that any topic that we will talk about, I try to talk about that subject from the Quran perspective, from the Sunnah perspective, and also from a logical or an emotional perspective. Because sometimes I find that our dawah becomes very mathematical.
Yeah.
Very 2 + 2 = 4. The thing is, people aren't mathematical. Some people are mathematical, but not all of them. So I think there has to be a huge emotional component to it and a logical component to it, because people are different. And so if you can somehow package your presentation with all of these components, inshallah, 9 out of 10, you'll hit the nail on the head, inshallah.
You're absolutely right. Jazakallah khair. That's brilliant advice. We've actually been looking in our era, we're starting to look at emotional intelligence for the dawah, because you're absolutely right. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone, like we give the example now, is like not everyone's like a robot. You can't treat people like robots and assume that by you giving them an intellectual input, it's going to equal shahada output. It doesn't work like that. There's so many moving parts to a human being. There's so many intricate parts to a human being. Their heart might say one thing and the head says another, So you've got to deal with human beings in different ways, and you've got to be able to what we say, we're talking about the fitrah, and specifically the fitrah. We've got to touch that fitrah and trigger that fitrah so it unlocks and it awakens, and the truth that from within them.
One of our brothers who was giving dawah to another brother, and this brother was struggling with atheism. He was basically bordering on Islam, atheism, that type of stuff. So one of our team members, he gave him dawah, and he said to him, no intellectual argument. He just said, do you think that there was a man who lived about 1400 years ago by the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And the guy who was like almost an atheist, he said, yeah, I mean, of course, I don't deny that there was a human being by that very name. Yes, he was there. He said, bro, tell me something. Do you think that man was a liar? Do you think he was a liar? And so he thought about it. He said, take your time, take 5 minutes if you have to. And so this brother began to think, and he said, no, he wasn't a liar. And he said, Takbir, Allah Akbar.
That's it. That's it.
So the thing is, because in Pakistan, you see, people are, no matter what you say, right, people are kind of attached to the deen in some way, shape, or form. So sometimes, instead of giving him the whole, purpose of life and the proof for God and the proof of the Quran and the proof of the Prophet ﷺ, all we needed to say was an emotional argument that do you think that the man called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who people knew as Sadiq and Amin, do you think he was a liar? And he said no. So then he is the one who said that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah, and he's the one who came down with the Quran. So the thing is, sometimes it's these emotional arguments that can win over. So we have to kind of lay down the balance and
play the man.
Most important is to know your audience.
Absolutely.
You have to know to which crowd you're going to speak to, because you could be going into a very intellectual audience, and if you give the emotional argument, that's going to fall flat in his face. Or you could go to a highly emotional crowd, and if you give them very intellectual arguments, it'll go over their heads. They won't understand a word of what you said. So it has to be, I think, you have to be smart as a da'i. You have to know who you're speaking to, and then you have to do it in that way. And I think that takes a bit of emotional intelligence to be able to do that, inshallah.
Absolutely. Jazakallah khair.
We've got some questions, Sohail.
Okay, I'm going to go through some of the comments that we may have missed. So there's a comment here. I think we were talking about phones earlier, about switching your phones off. So Sister Akasha said, my phone usually hangs due to notifications when I leave it on after only 4 hours of my absence. Yeah, sister, I know a guy who can help you unlock Android phones if you know. So if you need if you need any help, you can ask nearby. Alhamdulillah. Okay, we've also had a comment. This is quite a long comment. Okay, I don't think it's fully on screen. I'll try and read the rest of it on the actual Facebook itself. But I'm always skeptical and reserved while listening to Dawah and Tabligh people like in this session. I really love my teachers who teach me about Islam firsthand, and I'm pretty comfortable talking about it as a speaker. I love talking to my righteous friends who are intellectually gifted because that feels a lot more beneficial. But a few minutes into such Dawah sessions, I feel like leaving. It feels like there's nothing in such sessions that benefit me. I do try to force to. 1 second, let me see if I can get the rest of it. I do try to force. No, I can't get the rest of it on the screen. The message must have been that long. Let me see if I can find it. Give me a second, guys. Okay, I do try.
Yeah, I mean, I can see in the comment he kind of goes on that he's saying, "Look, I don't."
Yeah, here it is. I've got it. Sorry, I've got it. So, I do try to force myself to extract the goodness out of them, and I do a lot of the times extract some bits, but I don't find them effective. How should I go about this psychological behavior of mine?
Wow, that is a question and a half right there, bro. What I was saying is that you see different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, sometimes while we're doing street dawah, we might get some uncle who comes up to us and says, "Beta, this is not the way to do dawah. Dawah should be done in the masjid, and it should be done like this, and it should be done like this." Or, for example, sometimes you make a video and somebody would say, "This is not the way to do dawah. Dawah should be done, only 1-to-1." Or somebody would say, "No, this is not the way to dawah. Dawah has to be done in the form of khutbah, and everybody has to be sitting there." So the thing is, there are so many different ways of dawah because, see, in the Sharia, there are certain farais, and dawah is a type of fard ain also and fard kifaya also. So the thing is, it is an obligation upon every Muslim to communicate as much as they're able to, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Asr, He said, "Watawasaw bil haqq, watawasaw bis sabr." So part of your salvation, lies upon basically giving dawah to people as much as your capacity and as much as your level of knowledge. Now the thing is that when people are calling others towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many different techniques work. So in some farais, for example, in prayer, you have to pray a certain way. Prayer is always done in a certain way. But then there are certain other farais for which there is no set method of doing so and so. Like, for example, jihad fi sabilillah, you can do jihad on an airplane. You can do jihad on a battleship.
Sheikh Zia, I think we're losing you. I think we're losing you, Sheikh Zia.
Spears and daggers, or you can do jihad with guns.
I think we're losing you.
Yes, can you hear me now? Is it?
Yeah, now it's better. It's better. It's better.
Visible?
Yeah.
Audible?
Sorry about that.
Okay. So there are certain, for example, there are certain farais which are that have to be done a certain way. Like, for example, salah or hajj or so on. So these things they have a set method to them. But for example, jihad, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you could be doing jihad on an F-16 fighter jet, or you could be doing it on a battleship, or you could be doing it with guns or swords or spears. So there are so many different ways. In the same manner, dawah, calling others towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know that there are many different ways of doing it. There's no set pattern. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has done it in many different ways, going to the marketplaces and the masajid with khutbah, 1-to-1, even holding the hand of a sahabi and making dua for him, hugging someone, making dua for this person. So there are so many different ways of doing dawah. So I think that what the brother did mention with regards to finding the 1-to-1 interaction with your own fellow colleagues, that works. That completely works. Likewise, sometimes having a good teacher with you, somebody who teaches you Quran and Sunnah, and having that 1-to-1 with them is a beautiful thing. It completely works. But sometimes, and I can show you, some of the comments that we get on our videos on YouTube and Facebook and so on. People say, "Bro, I saw your video, my life changed. I saw that, my life changed." So alhamdulillah, different things work for different people. Sometimes it's even, somebody heard us on the radio and they were like, "Subhanallah, I was driving in my car, I was switching channels, Allahu Akbar, listen to what you guys were talking about." And that's the day I said, "You know what, I'm going to start practicing." So I've got like a zillion stories for you of how people have changed. And they've changed in a zillion different ways. So inshallah, we say whoever is doing da'wah, whatever their capacity, however they're doing it, as long as they're doing it within the boundaries of Sharia, more power to them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them and reward them, inshallah.
We had just really quickly, we had a show with the brothers, with the youth club, just a few weeks ago, where there's four multiple speakers, mashallah. And a Christian sister from the UAE, she watched the show, and after the show, she took a shahada, alhamdulillah. So I think the brother, just really quickly, because our time is of the essence, right? These shows are not deep dawah training. These shows are not teaching you the Quran and Sunnah and the ayats and the tafsir of dawah. This show is to make dawah popular, to make it appealing, and to get the entry level. When people are interested, then we take them to scholars, the ulama, the courses, psychology, academics, and everything. So don't expect that this show is the be all and all. It's a show. That's why it's called a show, right? So don't expect something which is not. Anyway,
I think I'll also add to that, and very quickly add to that. And I think sometimes, if you look at the Sahaba themselves, not everyone, like, they had their own certain specialties sometimes, right? Maybe not all Sahabas were, for example, like Khalid bin Walid.
Yeah.
Not every Sahaba was like Abu Huraira, who memorized and narrated hadith. They had their own special skills. Maybe, and Allah knows best, maybe dawah is not the be-all and the end-all skill for you, but that doesn't mean take it as being that's not the only thing in Islam for you. Islam is vast and Islam is wide. Having said that, when you look at the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they still focused on those different areas. So you did have people, Sahaba, who did memorize hadith, etc. My point on what I'm saying here is that whatever the part of the dawah that works for you, take it, be a part of it, and reset. Just all you got to do is reset yourself in the sense that remind yourself, go back to your intention, go back to niyyah, go back to understanding the rewards and the benefit of being involved in such a worthy cause. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, our purpose in life is to worship Allah, but there are people out there that don't know that purpose. Maybe that's your job to actually help people to get there. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on that.
Alhamdulillah, excellent. How long do we have, bro?
I think we're out of time, bro.
Oh, subhanallah. Okay. So there's some other questions. I think what we'll do, we'll just make a note of it, and either we'll answer it in future shows or in some other, inshallah, platform.
Inshallah.
Yeah. So Zia bhai, really privileged to have you, bro. Jazakallah khair. I know
amazing. Jazakallah khair.
To be here, bro.
It's the first time I've met you, Sheikh, and bro, it was a pleasure, a real pleasure. Alhamdulillah.
I hope you can come to Pakistan someday, or I can come to
Please, Bismillah, you're more than welcome to come to Newcastle. We can come to Newcastle, and we'll
come to Crawley first,
no problem.
and then Newcastle.
Don't worry about Crawley. Come to Newcastle. This is where it's at. Alhamdulillah. On that note, brothers and sisters, I just want to make a quick note. Please stay tuned, especially to the show that's coming after that. We have our live appeal. As you probably are watching this on Newcastle Fast FM's Facebook page, we're raising funds for Newcastle Fast FM in order to continue the work that we're doing, and as part of the Dawah organization, Islamic Diversity Center in the northeast of England. This organization has been set up to clarify the truth about Islam, especially in our locality. So we work in schools, we work in organizations, we do a lot of these social initiatives to show the truth about Islam, but we need funds to be able to do that. So please donate generously, and please share the stream. Please come on the stream and have a look and see what the work that we're doing. And if you'd like to donate, all you got to do is go to supportidc.com, or you can go to paypal.me/Islamic Diversity. The details are there at the bottom. Alhamdulillah. So please donate and please help, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Nadeem, I'll let you close the show.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair, bro. Yeah, I know you're a very busy person, subhanAllah. Even in Ramadan, even with the lockdown, I know it's non-stop for you. If it wasn't offline, now you're online. All these lectures and live streams and tafsir, mashallah. So, brothers and sisters, Zia bhai does a tafsir in English every day. Pakistan time, what is it? What time is it, bro?
Yeah, it's 3:30 to 4:15 Pakistan time.
Pakistan time. Okay,
PM.
So here will be 4 hours before that. So if anyone of you watching, inshallah, so it's highly recommended. And the theme today was, one of the biggest themes was making the dawah simple. And I think, mashallah, Zia bhai, I hope he doesn't mind me saying it, he's a master at that, alhamdulillah. So these tafsir, if you want to learn the tafsir and gain some gems, attend his sessions, mashallah. So yeah, Jazakallah khair, bro. Zia, thank you very much for everyone who attended. And until next Saturday,
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah from me.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, bro.
Assalamu alaikum.
And this is have to keep